There are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Good afternoon, and what a lively beginning to our show. We've got someone very special here today, but I am Frank.
And I'm Ruslan, and welcome to
the Cool Classics. Here we are again. It's great.
From Los Angeles, live.
LA Talk Live.
Yay.
And we hope today that you will tune in and listen to our amazing guest. Exotic, but modern as can be. But
this is unusual.
Yes, we have an unusual.
We have a lot of deviations from our standard.
We really do.
Yeah.
And another deviation is we actually have a call-in line today, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You want to give that number?
So, United States, +1 323 Los Angeles 473 3100. Once again, 323 473 3100. Call the studio, ask our guest all kinds of questions. And, normally, Frank, we would start with introducing some kind of pieces that will be, played in its entirety in a week on our show, and then we'll bring the guest. But today, the guest is of such importance and of such interest that we decided, why don't we spend the whole hour with our guest? Right,
but you will be hearing some music from the country of origin of our guest and loving it.
And another thing we said from the very beginning, we are staying away from politics.
Oh, do we have to do that? I guess we do. All right, we'll stay away from politics.
And guess what? Our guest today is a Consul General of Azerbaijani Republic. His name is Nasimi Aghayev. He was appointed Consul General in the United States of America by President of Azerbaijan in 2012. He's an exceedingly educated man. He holds Masters of European Law degree from Europe Institute of the Saarland University in Germany. He holds Bachelors of Art and Masters of Arts degrees in International Relations from the Baku State University, Azerbaijan. He also wrote a book that's called Humanitarian Intervention and International Law, NATO Operation Kosovo. He speaks 7 languages, believe it or not. And those are English, French, German, Russian, Spanish, Turkish, and Azerbaijani, of course. Well, we can definitely, confirm Azerbaijani. I, being Russian, had a chance to speak with him in Russian language. He said that he's truly fluent in the Russian language. You will hear him speak in English today, or maybe some other languages as well. So, Consul General of Azerbaijan, Mr. Nasimi Aghayev, please welcome to Cool Classics. You are the first Consul General on our broadcast.
That's right.
Not the last.
We sincerely hope.
We're starting a trend here on LA Talk Live. It's really great.
So, did I forget anything out of your broad activities?
Yes. No, you pretty much covered everything. Just to add that, thank you very much for having me on your show.
We're pleased you're here.
I'm very delighted, and our consulate has been opened here 10 years ago in the western region of the United States, and we cover California and 12 other western states, and this is the only consulate general Azerbaijan has in the United States. So it's pretty much interesting to be here.
Very important.
Consul Aghayev, perhaps you could tell us a little bit about your country, where it is. I have a wonderful map, and I showed it to my wife this morning. She said, I see now where that beautiful place is. And I think our listeners would like to know that, know a little bit about the size of the country, a little bit of its history.
Yes. Azerbaijan is located in Eurasia, in the Caucasus region. They're right at the Caspian Sea, which, as you know, is the largest lake in the world. So Azerbaijan's neighbors are Russia, Georgia, Armenia, Turkey, and Iran. And it's a country of around 10 million population, 9.6 million population. And the size of the country is comparable to the country of Austria, or in terms of the United States, the state of Maine.
Right, I was going to say that, state of Maine.
State of Maine. So it's a modern country. It's an ancient culture, ancient history, and at the same time, it's a young republic. This year, it's going to be 25 years since we restored our independence.
Wow.
We say restored because Azerbaijan had already an independent statehood in 1918, for 2 years before the Soviets came as uninvited guests and put an end to that independence. So we became part of the Soviet Union for the following 71 years. But in 1918, we established our first statehood, and it was the first secular democracy, a parliamentary democracy in the Muslim world.
Okay, so I have a question. Prior to 1918, the way whenever I was researching, it looks like Azerbaijan was a part of Russian Empire, right? And it's an oil-rich country. And in the 19th century and beginning of 20th century, Azerbaijan was producing over 50% of all the oil that was produced in the world. Is that
exactly?
Right? Yeah?
Exactly. Before 1918 and before the October Revolution in Russia, Azerbaijan was for about over 100 years part of the Russian Empire, as other countries of the Caucasus region. And yes, Azerbaijan was one of the main centers of the global oil production. And you're right, half of the oil in the world was being produced in Azerbaijan, in Baku. We had all the big names of then oil industry, like Nobel brothers, Rothschilds, Rockefellers.
So the Nobel Prize started in Azerbaijan.
Yes,
right?
actually that's true. Adolf Nobel was never in Azerbaijan. Alfred Nobel, he was never in Azerbaijan, but he sent 2 of his brothers to go to Russia actually to look for wood. And they said, someone told them in, I think, Petersburg, that you can find a lot of wood in Azerbaijan. So they came down to Azerbaijan to find wood, but they found more petrol that they could use than
more valuable. More valuable.
Now we have the Nobel Prize. Isn't it wonderful?
And around 30% of the Nobel Prize Fund was made with the fortunes the Nobel brothers made in Azerbaijani oil industry. So and some of the first in the oil industry, oil history, are connected with Azerbaijan, like the first oil well that was dug in Azerbaijan in 1848. Many think it was in Pennsylvania in 1859.
That's right.
But it was 11 years before that it was in Azerbaijan. The first oil tankers, oil pipelines, etc. So big oil
now
history.
you're still a very powerful oil-producing nation?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's now, since we restored our independence, we invited foreign oil companies, especially American and European oil companies, to come and help us develop these oil resources with modern technology, because all we had was outdated Soviet technology. So in 1994, we signed this contract of the century. It was called actually Contract of the Century with all foreign companies, which has brought billions of dollars investments in our economy. And today Azerbaijan is around 75% of the region's economy. The poverty rate has been decreased from 50% in 2001 to under 6% now, thanks to the smart management of all the oil and gas resources, natural gas.
I read an interesting fact just this week about Azerbaijan, and it really struck out at me. I noticed you have a 100% literacy rate.
Exactly.
We can't even, we don't have that here in the United States.
Exactly. Education was always a high priority. And, of course, there are lots of things to say negatively about the Soviet Union, but one thing they did very right was to pay a lot of attention to education. So education level rose in Azerbaijan during the Soviet times. We had lots of universities and schools, etc., even in the remotest villages of the country. And so we built on that tradition when we became independent again. So now, during the last few years, Azerbaijan has built additional 2,000-3,000 schools in the country.
Okay.
That's
so
remarkable.
now, yes, around almost 100% literacy level has been
but-
achieved.
And how do you, so school is probably up to about age 17 mandatory, or 18 or something like
It's
that?
yes, from 7 years, from 7 till it's like 17 years old.
Okay.
Around
Now, what
10,
happens?
11 years old of
now,
education.
what about
we want to extend it.
What about after the school term of the 7 years? How are students? How do students go to college and university in Azerbaijan?
We have a centralized admission system. So once they graduate from high school, they apply for that, and then they participate in this centralized test. So on one day, thousands of students they take exams. It's a kind of multiple choice exams, most of the part. But for like musicians, artists, they have also kind of so-called talent exams. So they have to show their talent. So and then once accepted, they get tuition. It's free.
It's free.
So it's free for for tens of thousands of Azerbaijani students.
Does the person has to be Azerbaijani citizen to get that free education?
Exactly.
Okay, people, we are moving to Azerbaijan. Everyone who
your
wants to get
population will be 50 million in about 10 years.
Welcome. That will be our contribution.
All right. Well, there is a remarkable music heritage, remarkable music tradition in Azerbaijan, and I made a little research. Apparently, the first people appeared on the territory of Azerbaijan as long as 10,000 years ago, and many hundreds years ago, a musical tradition called Mugam appeared, and we have a little video here about Azerbaijan with Azerbaijani Mugam, which was in 2003 recognized by UNESCO as acknowledged for the authenticity, richness, and cultural significance, both national and global culture. And apparently, this exact Mugam was that melody that you guys are going to hear was included into the Voyagers, the space shuttle. What is it? 30 most important.
1977.
Yeah,
exactly.
1977. That space shuttle, the Voyager, that was sent outside of. It's outside of solar system now. So it has this Mugam recorded as an example of humanity to whomever will catch that Voyager, I guess.
Exactly. When NASA was producing this two identical Voyager spacecraft to send with a specific message from Earth to any extraterrestrials that might be there, they said let's put together also something about the music of this world, and they went through thousands of songs from different cultures. And Carl Sagan, who led the project, they somehow came across this Azerbaijani Mugam music. So they loved it so much, they decided to include it as well in 1970s. Right. So it was made part of this very small and exclusive collection of 27 songs. And so one of them is Sure, this Mugam piece, like 3-minute piece from Azerbaijan.
And I will tell you why
so
they
it's
chose.
now flying, still sending messages back.
Why they chose it, because Mugam is the only example of folk music that has a very strong theoretical system. In fact, there is a book written by a famous Azerbaijani composer, Aghayev, describing that. So the Mugams, they have that what's called keys. So it's, in the standard music you have 30 keys. With Mugams, if I'm not mistaken, and someone can prove me wrong, I think there are 17. And each Mugam has it's essentially a combination of those keys and that's what they call symphonic development. The performance of the Mugam has both a structure and improvisatory character. And sometimes Mugam, if the true professional Mugam player would start improvising, can go for hours. It's truly remarkable art. And let's watch it right now and listen for it, and we will continue our conversation about the wonderful Azerbaijani culture. Are we? Oh, it's still
Are we in again?
Are we in? Microsoft on.
Ah.
Great.
Well, we're back after hearing that Mugam, which is really quite amazing. And as a musician, I'm listening to it and trying to analyze it, because if you notice, as it plays, you have a drone tone. And then you have this wonderful, wonderful, almost improvisatory
That's
thing.
correct.
Exactly.
Now, tell us
That's
about
correct.
the instrument. Are there separate instruments playing the drone tone and playing the upper piece, the upper part?
This piece is a bagpipe.
It's a bagpipe.
Bagpipe.
All right,
Now,
so- all right,
bagpipe
all right.
it's primarily played in the region called Nakhchivan of Azerbaijan, very famous. And by the way, it's very interesting. This recording was made in Moscow,
Really?
of like in 1956. So they collected different folk songs from across the Soviet Union, put it in one
CD.
not CD back then, like
Long
the
plays,
vinyl.
yeah.
So and then somehow it got into the United States, and they picked this music from there. And now the hope is one day the extraterrestrials will find it and,
They'll
and make the
find it.
device and listen to it.
They'll find it and they'll recognize
Recognize-
Azerbaijani culture as it deserves.
But, I think what we should what we should bring to everybody's attention, that Azerbaijani culture is not only about Mugam, because Mugam made its way into many other types of music, like jazz, for instance. In fact, Azerbaijani has that what they call jazz Mugam. Right, it's truly one of a kind thing, and there was a famous musician Baghiyev Mustafazadeh. He unfortunately died in 1979. So he is kind of credited with creating jazz Mugam. Now, jazz Mugam is based on the same model forms as the scales of Mugams. However, it doesn't have that exact rhythmical or metered structure. The performer who plays jazz Mugam is supposed to improvise essentially on the spur of the moment. So I hope that Richard, our producer, will put the example of jazz Mugam performed by Baghiyev Mustafazadeh right now, played on the piano, which is the European kind of style instrument. Okay, we're back.
We're back, and actually, we were talking, and our Consul General Nasimi has a quote about this piano playing,
Yes.
and he
You know,
would
the-
like to talk us.
Baghiyev Mustafazadeh was, of course, one of the major jazz pianists of Azerbaijan, and he was called the architect of jazz in Azerbaijan. As you know, in the beginning, jazz was banned during Stalin times in the Soviet Union.
All right.
So Baku became one of the jazz centers of the Soviet Union, where people would play underground.
Okay, sure.
And a lot of bands would be created underground again.
sure.
But then, of course, the ban was lifted, and a lot of jazz musicians emerged. And one of them was Baghiyev Mustafazadeh, who was extremely popular. And he actually also attracted attention from one of the famous jazz musicians of the United States, Willis Conover, in the 1960s. He had a program called Jazz Time. And when he listened to Baghiyev Mustafazadeh, this is what he said, quote, "Baghiyev Mustafazadeh is an extraordinary pianist. It's impossible to identify his equal. He's the most lyrical pianist I have ever known." So that was a big appreciation.
Big appreciation of
big
music.
appreciation.
And he also won several international competitions for jazz music. And his daughter actually is now a very famous jazz musician in Germany. Her name is Aziza, and they call her Jazziza.
Oh,
I love it.
Jazziza. Yeah.
and just for all listeners of ours, you guys will be able to hear all this music in its entirety next week at 1 o'clock at the Cool Classics. Okay.
And by the way, we should mention again that you can call in on our show
Oh, yeah.
today. If you call 323, that's in the United States, 323-473-3100. You can talk to us. You can ask questions of us or of our Consul General Nasimi. And I think you'll find some interesting answers. So do call in.
All right. So I have a question. So obviously, you being Consul General and with the background education that you have, your subject of work largely is language. Why don't we talk about Azerbaijani language? And why don't we kind of, if you can give us a little bit of the background, where this language comes from, what kind of language it is. And the reason why I'm plugging this question is because I'm kind of trying to lead it toward Nizami Ganjavi, who is a famous Azerbaijani poet of, 12th century, whose poetry survived through almost a millennia now. So Azerbaijani language, couple of words about it, please.
So Azerbaijani language is a Turkic language. It's close to the Turkish language, for example, or some other Turkic languages which are spoken in Central Asia, like Kazakh, Turkmen, Uzbek, and others. Even like the Tatar language, Bashkir language in Russia,
so
or Crimean Tatar language. They all have same roots.
So if we go to Kazakhstan and start speaking Azerbaijani, will they understand?
They will understand partially because even in that family language subgroup, actually, there are other small groups. Azerbaijanis understand the Turks the best and the Turkmens. And also Tatars, but Kyrgyz and Kazakhs understand each other better. So it's part of the Altaic language family, which actually includes, for example, the language like Korean. So Korean or Hungarian or Estonian and Finnish.
Wow,
they're all in the same language family and have the same roots. So it's widely spoken in Azerbaijan, of course, but also in Iran, by the way. In Iran, you've got 30 million Azerbaijanis living in that country.
Wow.
Out of around 80 million population.
That's a lot.
30 million.
30
so
million.
more Azerbaijanis live in Iran than in Azerbaijan.
3 times more Azerbaijani. So if it's
practical,
very practical.
Yeah.
If you speak Azerbaijani, you can speak to 40-50 million Azerbaijanis in the world, plus like around 100 million Turks. So try to learn Azerbaijani. Highly recommendable.
How amazing!
So in Azerbaijan, it's very well developed. We've got institutes learning and studying this language, and bringing new words to the language, inventing new words. So it's always in evolution.
Okay, so Nizami Ganjavi, the famous poet, Azerbaijani poet, philosopher, who, by the way, that's a question. When I was making my research, I found out that he was married 3 times.
Yeah.
Now, Frank, in one, I think either it's in Saudi Arabia or somewhere. Even now you can have 4 wives. How is it in Azerbaijan?
Also
is
in Utah.
Can we have 3, 4, 5 wives?
No,
not really.
What would you do?
Not really.
Just one wife.
Frank, we found the flaw.
Unlucky. No, just one wife. Yes, because the law doesn't.
Does the wife have to wear the hijab and all that?
No such. Azerbaijan is a secular country. So it's a 95% Muslim population, but it's staunchly secular. Government, the religion is completely separated from the government, and actually, as I said, we actually started it in 1918. We established the first secular government, republic, democracy in the Muslim world. In 1919, Azerbaijan became the first country in the Muslim world to give the voting right to women.
Wow.
Even 1 year before the United States. We beat
Wow.
the US for 1 year in that term.
That's another fact. That we
Women, time to move to Azerbaijan.
What
can be
so women emancipation.
Women. That's right. Yeah, this is great.
All right, so Nizami, what language did he write? He wrote it 800 years ago, all his poems, right? Still very actual nowadays, and very shortly we will listen for a clip, a song composed by Eric Clapton that's done on the poem lyrics of Nizami, as a matter of fact. So, couple of words about Nasimi.
So Nizami Gencevi is one of the most famous poets of Azerbaijani literature. His most famous works were Khamsa, which is the 5 big stories or poems. And one of them is Layli and Majnun.
We will be talking about it.
So Nizami wrote all these works, and he influenced the aftercoming poets significantly in that part of the world, in not only in Azerbaijan but also Iran and the other Middle Eastern countries. So his literary influence was tremendous, and even he influenced Eric Clapton now with this. But Nizami Gencevi is very revered. Even the German philosopher and author Johann Wolfgang Goethe, he mentioned in his Ostivan Nizami's heritage specifically. So today you've got statues of Nizami in Azerbaijan, in Rome, and in other places. So a lot of
I know that he's popular also in Iran, Kurdistan, Tajikistan, Afghanistan, like all of them. But was he writing in Azerbaijani?
Back then, the language of literature was Persian. So he was writing in Farsi. He was writing in Farsi, but he lived in Ganja, which is the second largest city of Azerbaijan. Actually, he never left Ganja.
Really?
He always stayed in Ganja, but from his works you can see that he possessed such a huge knowledge of like philosophy, religion, art, and literature. But he managed to learn all that just being in Ganja, because Ganja was one of the main centers of science, education, art back then. So
And where is this city, Ganji, in relation to Baku?
It's around like a 6-hour drive from Baku. It's in western part of the country.
You know what I wanted to ask? What kind of climate do you guys have in Azerbaijan?
Climate, it's diverse. Azerbaijan actually is a very small country, but with a very diverse geography. We have high mountains, like 4,500 meter high.
Wow, 10-15,000 feet, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Baku itself is 28 meters below the sea level.
Really? Wow.
It's the lowest lying national capital in the world.
Wow.
So Baku. So Baku's temperature I would compare to that of Washington D.C., for example. So mild winter and hot summer, but in the mountains, of course, the climate is different. Out of 12 climatic zones or climate zones existing in the world, Azerbaijan has got 9.
Wow.
So it's as diverse in a very small country. So it's that we have from subtropical to mountain temperature.
And how much space is it on the actual Caspian Sea? How many miles would it be?
It's around 700-800 kilometers. So
kilometers.
It's
about 1,000 miles.
Beautiful
or so,
beaches there.
So
now new resorts are being built there, so people can come and enjoy.
So there's a lot of waterfront.
A lot of waterfront. Yes,
yeah, beautiful.
That's why sometimes in Baku we get cold winds which come from the north through the Caspian Sea, or then warm winds then would come from the south.
Very interesting
place to go for vacation, guys.
Baku is also called the city of winds, by the way.
That's true.
It's Chicago of the Caucasus.
Okay.
All right, why don't we listen for Eric Clapton's song Layla, which is sung in English, actually not in Farsi, but the lyrics
it's based on the Layli and Majnun poem by Nizami Gencevi. So and it's called Layla. Layla, and actually in 1993 this song got the Grammy Award
wow,
best rock song.
Great.
So guys, we are gonna listen for Eric Clapton, and then we'll have a little commercial break. Stay with us, and we got a lot of interesting things for you for the next half hour. Cool classics.